There are a lot of aircraft in War Thunder, most of them are pretty good, and many players' absolute favourite vehicles in the whole game. And today, we aren't going to be talking about them, but rather looking at the opposite end of the scale. With so many good planes, that also means that there have to be some, well, not so good planes, and in this video we're going to be looking at the absolute worst of the worst, help voted by my Discord. Today, with the release of this video, is also my birthday, so what better way to spend it by playing some of the most miserable aircraft in the whole game. A couple disclaimers though, I can only include planes that I actually own, which is a good amount of them, but well, it's not all of them, so I'll save your breath now. The J7W1 Salamander would almost certainly have been on this list. Actually, I think that was the only disclaimer, so yeah, let's just get on with the video and roll the film. In at number 5 is the ME163 Comet, and let me tell you, this is not a very snazzy Comet at all. I also don't actually own the Comet, so I can't really feature it, but I do own the Japanese copy, the KI-200, which for all intents and purposes is just as bad. Okay, let me just edit it a little bit, and there. You can never tell the difference. The Comet and the KI-200 are bad for a multitude of different reasons, and they make it one of the most just generally uncomfortable planes to play. It does have its fans, and before you say it doesn't turn too bad, and it accelerates fairly quickly, and it is a small target to be fair, just know. Its guns are unwieldy, get very little ammo to play with, and of course, the main downside to this thing, it is the fuel load. The range is not your strong suit at all, in fact it is your Achilles heel, and in every single game you play, you will find yourself running out of fuel and having to glide, maybe back to your base if you're close enough. If not, then feel free to become food for absolutely every plane on the enemy team as you slowly lose speed over time. It is truly tragic, especially when you get up-tiered against supersonic aircraft from the mid-1950s, because what is balancing and immersion in this game? Suddenly a jumped-up rocket-powered glider that was built in some shed at the end of World War II doesn't look so impressive anymore. Next up, we have another wonder weapon, the J7W1, a very funky looking aircraft built by Japan during World War II, intended to be the ultimate anti-bomber interceptor, designed to hunt down the great B-29 Superfortress. Unfortunately, this is a scenario that almost never happens in this game, and so you're forced to put this in a role where it just doesn't belong, which is basically every other role. Despite having impressive speed, it is in fact really slow. Yeah, that really doesn't make much sense, but then again, neither does this plane. Allegedly, you can get this thing up to 466 miles an hour, convert that into your local measurement unit as you will, but this will almost never happen unless you slam it down from orbit. For some reason, it just accelerates like a dog, probably a three-legged dog to be more precise, and its very sluggish nature makes it have the turning circle of a battleship, a Japanese battleship that has already been sunk. Sure, the guns are kind of meaty, but you don't get a lot of ammo to play with, and so you're left with an admittedly cool looking aircraft, which is definitely more about style rather than substance. Either War Thunder got it wrong, or this is made to look way more impressive when it's hunting down giant atomic powered lizards. Despite what the movie made it out to be, sadly this thing is a travesty.
A few moments later.
Oh no, not this plane. You just know something Italian had to make the list eventually, and while as a whole their planes aren't quite as bad as their tanks, that does not excuse the P108A Series 2. Italian bombers have never been particularly strong, and so the P108A Series 2 decided to be something different, an aerial tank destroyer. Yeah, really. Basically, it's a 4-engined Italian bomber, not a great start, with all the bombs removed, it's getting worse, and instead it has a giant 102mm cannon in the nose. Because why not? In real life, this was supposed to attack various transport ships and light military vessels out on the open sea. Now, unless you're suicidal and actually want to take this into a naval game, you're stuck playing this against other aircraft and tanks. Aiming this thing is not easy. It has a slow reload, and let's not forget, you have to try and guide this chonky boy to get your nose on target. It's big, it's cumbersome, it's slow, and it's ugly, and it is really stupid. If you're wondering, yes, the gun does hit hard if you hit something. If you don't, yeah. You do at least get 50 shots to try and hit whatever you're shooting at, which is usually a tiny tank speeding along the ground, but while you're spending all that time aiming, you are the mother of all easy targets, so planes and folks on the ground love to shoot at you, and you tend to die pretty quickly. Just why does this thing even exist? What was wrong with a good bomb anyway? In at number 2 is a plane I'm somewhat infamous for hating. It is, of course, the Yak-15P. I know it has its fans, but I don't care. I am not one of them. I have tried so hard to like this thing, but getting given only 60 rounds to use is never an advantage. Basically, what you have here is a Yak-3, a perfectly excellent prop fighter at 4.3, 5.0 if you want the one with better guns, and at 6.3, however, you get the Yak-15P, which has swapped the piston engine for a jet engine. And that's it, which sounds pretty good, but if you're wondering if there's probably more you need to do in order to make a competent jet fighter, well, you'd be right. The Yak-15P is not a very good plane. The jet is one of those weak, underpowered German Umo engines captured in World War II, and while it does give the little Yak quite good speed at its battle rating thanks to its very light construction, this comes with new problems. 1, it overheats. Quite a lot. 2, it's very fragile. Take one hit and you best leg it towards the nearest friendly base before you are minced by the enemy team. And 3, it's a Yak-3. It's not designed to go 460 or 470 miles an hour, which this plane can and will do in many cases thanks to the new engine. The Yak-3 had pretty thick wings anyway, which creates air resistance, drag, structural instability,
blah blah blah, sides.
To sum it up, they fall off when the plane goes fast, and these wooden wings love to fall off. Yes, the Yak-15 does make for a good dogfighter. Well, I would be saying that if the guns didn't let it down. Sorry, I meant gun. Yep, just one. What is this, the First World War? What are we doing here, Russia? And to top it off, you only get 60 rounds. You better hope you're good at aiming, otherwise a couple misses, or even if you're lucky, a couple kills mean you've already burnt through half or all of your ammo. And then you're just no use to anybody, and you're probably wishing you picked a different plane. Now, before we get to the number 1 spot, no good top 5 would be complete without a couple honourable, or in this case dishonourable mentions. Of course, something French had to make the list, and while I was spoiled for choice, I went with the D371 HS9. It might look like a bunch of mumbo-jumbo letters and numbers scrambled together, but I assure you, it's French for absolute shit. This parasol wing fighter is mostly competent until you look at the armament for it. It suffers from a similar problem to the Yak-15P in the sense that you're just given way too little ammo to use. It might be funny to put two 20mm cannons on a low tier tiny terror like this until you realise you only get 60 rounds again. But this time it's split between 2 guns, not 1. Yep, 30 rounds each. That's it. And once again, this just isn't enough to keep you in the fight for very long at all. Honestly, it pains me to place the HP-12 on this list, but being the only First World War plane in the entire game kind of means you are just guaranteed to be in for a rough time. It is among the slowest planes in the game, complete with pretty awkward firing angles for all the turrets, flimsy durability. I mean, look at it. It's out of place. The next earliest plane in War Thunder is some 12 or more years more advanced than you are. Thank God this was reserved for a limited event and will likely never be available again. It is just so slow. Like, seriously, look at this. And by the time you get to your destination, you're probably regretting it and on fire. But now for the number 1 worst plane in War Thunder as of right now. Yep, was it really a surprise? Who would have thought that one of the most hyped aircraft to come to the game in the recent major update ended up being one of the worst? In fact, the worst. The B-66 destroyer is not a fun gaming experience. In fact, it's a very sad gaming experience. It's a bomber, which is never a good thing in this game, but not only that, it's a high-tier jet bomber, meaning you are up against some scary things that basically negate any quote-unquote advantages that you might have been hoping you'd have. Everyone is faster than you, and everyone is more agile than you, and you can't count on durability in this game, unlike, well, I guess a bomber would in real life. Many did ask why I didn't include the B-57 on this list, but that can at least turn out of the way of someone's guns or missiles that get flung your way. The B-66 can't. It's too fat and sluggish to get out of the way. It turns like a big old bus, so you are flat out defenseless against these weapons, and at 9.0 you meet this fate all the time. Even the very worst missiles have no problem trying to hit you. And no countermeasures either. You do get a tail gunner, but it might as well be cosmetic because it never hits anything and you'll die long before you've landed your first hit. You don't even get a bomber spawn, and oh, it's just so bad. The destroyer has quite possibly doomed the chances of any larger jet bombers coming to the game in the future, which is a huge shame, because it's just in that poor a state right now. The B-66 is genuinely so bad that I would be surprised if I even have a 50% success rate. Literally getting to the target to actually bomb it is a struggle, because most of the time you just die long before you get there, because you just don't have a way of defending yourself. And even if you do somehow get there, it's not really worth it. Bombing ground targets in this game does not give you nearly the sort of rewards you need in order to make this a viable way of playing the game, which makes it the worst plane in War Thunder. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the top 5 worst planes in War Thunder. I hope you all enjoyed this video because it took a lot of effort to make, and hooray, now that my channel is monetized again, we can finally celebrate, especially as it is my birthday, like I said. Don't forget, I will be live over on YouTube this time because I can monetize YouTube again, so make sure to come along later today and join me live. So yay for that. And yeah, like I said, I hope you all enjoy this video and do continue to support the channel by liking, subscribing, all of the ings, and of course hitting the bell to stay notified, and commenting what you think is the worst plane in War Thunder, just in case I decided to do a part 2 at some point in the future. Anyways, that's all we've got for today, and I'll catch you all in the next one.